Over the last few weeks, I've been making videos centered around the Dream SMP and its plot. And that's because I love the Dream SMP, I watch it pretty much daily, and I appreciate everyone involved. However, with the destruction of the Manberg storyline, I've seen some cracks forming. Not only with the plot, but more importantly, in my opinion, with the characters that have developed issues that have not only started to make myself, but others disillusioned with the server and its story. So let's explore these issues and how it affects the story going forward. Tommy in it is for all extensive purposes the main character of the server. He's been through everything and has developed through it all. And by developed, I mean his Twitch and YouTube has developed. Because it's become obvious to me that Tommy as a character has not developed whatsoever. He's still the same 16-year-old living inside a hill obsessed with getting some music discs from Dream. Nothing has changed. Throughout this time, Manberg has come and fallen 3 times. He's been exiled, has met numerous people and fought through wars. But he is barely developed as a character throughout those, and now it seems he's back to square one with being obsessed with Dream and the discs. This also hurts us as an audience because during his fight with Tubbo, it seems he has changed his mind and cares about his friends and Manberg more than the discs. But throughout the final fight for Manberg, he's still yelling about his discs and how important they are. Makes it so boring to watch as an audience member because he does not adapt or see things differently. It's just what is important to him, which apparently is the discs, and it becomes a rotating circle. I also want to talk about this argument with Tubbo in depth, because on the face of it, this is a huge event. 2 best friends suddenly at each other's throats, and for the most part I love this scene. However, the way Tommy changes his mind at the end, it's just so quick how he goes from the discs are only important to Tubbo is now important, and it just seems unrealistic. He's literally screaming at Tubbo about how the discs are more important than him. He quickly goes from pure anger to regret based on his words alone. I don't fully blame Tommy for this. He's not a professional actor. In fact, none of these people are. But just adding an extra line from like Tubbo saying, "But we are or were best friends," adds an extra dimension of weight into the situation, making Tommy's change so much more realistic and helps to drive forward why he would so suddenly leave Technoblade and betray him. That leads me on to the relationship between Technoblade and Tommy, because this has holes in. And I think it affects the drama between the two. It simply comes down to I don't believe that Technoblade and Tommy as characters are friends. Techno seems to treat Tommy with contempt, and whilst the point of Tommy in it is to annoy everyone, it's clear with Tubbo, Wilbur, Philza and even Nihachu he has some sort of friendship with them. But with Technoblade, despite being a fanboy still, he seems to have just no level of wholesomeness, I'd say. There's no connection between the two. But also, they were clearly only using each other the entire time, and we could see it as the audience, but apparently they can't. They never have a meaningful conversation, and they have been hurt by others, with Techno being almost executed and Tommy being manipulated by Dream in exile. But they never connect over this, they never talk or emphasise with each other, and it just means that their betrayal of each other carries less weight when it happens. And yes, Techno betrays Tommy by teaming up with Tommy's mortal enemy Dream. It just happens after Tommy betrays Techno. Again, Dream literally manipulated Tommy to almost jump off a giant tower. Why can't people see that Tommy would be upset by that? And this communication is an issue with Technoblade. Throughout his journey on the SMP, he doesn't really communicate with people or show any emotion towards anyone besides anger or contempt. He is in fact mostly emotionless, and this is because he is the Blade. He has to be emotionless. He has to just be the blood god, the all-powerful king of combat, and by doing this it makes him unrelatable. We know Techno as a person has weaknesses and constantly being weighed down by the need to be this all-powerful blood god. So why doesn't Techno as a character share these weaknesses? It makes him look more relatable and more human, which look, I guess some of his audience don't want him to be, but yeah. His only weakness seems to be the fact he has Carl the horse, but that's purely combat based and not a character flaw, which I would love to see in Technoblade. A smaller issue with Technoblade right now as well is that his character arc is all but done. There's nothing to be accomplished anymore. This is only small now because I'm sure he'll be dragged in somehow, but currently it just seems like there's nothing left for him to do, and why would he go on the server again? But I'm sure they will find a way to drag him back in. Leading from one powerful pig to a Tubbo. Tubbo again suffers similarly to Tommy from a huge lack of character development in this arc, which hurts a lot because it seemed as though at the start of this arc that he would grow a backbone, that when he exiled Tommy, he had gone from his role as sidekick to the president of L'Manberg, making decisions against the will of his people, but getting stuff done that needed to be done. And he is now being forced back into a role of the sidekick again. He's been given this whole thing of being the worst president, which I don't see. I don't know why they decided to go that way. It would have been cool to see Tubbo become like an almighty president, but maybe make wrong decisions that lead to the destruction of L'Manberg. It seemed rushed to me. The whole Tubbo just listens to what others tell him is so boring. We see Tubbo be told what to do by Tommy all the time, and throughout the spy arc in season 1 as well. But he makes decisions in this one. He went against Quackity and Fundy and Tommy by exiling Tommy, and it looked like he was going to build such a strong character for it just to be taken away. He goes back straight away to pleasing everyone, such as Quackity with the Technoblade execution and Dream by handing him Tommy's discs. It was so predictable and means that his character never changes whatsoever. And it was, again, it could have been so good. I really enjoyed Tubbo getting a backbone in that scene. Tubbo also shows a lack of care when L'Manberg is blown up. He's the president. This is his home that he helped build, he helped expand and fought wars for. Why does he seemingly not care about its destruction and is ready to move on without much thought? In fact, all the characters, beside maybe one, seem to just move on and accept that was it. That's L'Manberg gone. No like tears over it, just it's gone. Whoop-de-doo. And this is hard to see because we as an audience have seen this place grow. We love L'Manberg, and for them just not to care just sort of means we don't care either. When we should care about this beloved place being destroyed. We cared before, we cared twice now when L'Manberg is blown up. So for the third one just to be so lackluster, it really breaks my heart. And I'm sure others agree with me as well that this was such a huge part of the server. To see it gone and forgotten will be definitely very sad, and I just want to see the characters express that as well. Now I'd like to briefly touch on the side characters of the SMP as well, starting with the creator of Minecraft himself, Philza. He's brought in such an emotional and impactful scene, and then it's all the emotions sort of took out of Philza. And look, that's not his fault. He's been thrust into a role-playing server when usually he's just trying to survive. But he really doesn't show any connection to anyone but Technoblade, and that includes his dead son. Don't get me wrong, he is still Dadsa to everyone, but I just want him to show some sadness relating to Wilbur and the destruction of L'Manberg, or even Tommy after his exile. He immediately goes against him when Techno informs him of the betrayal, doesn't really ever question Tommy. This brings up an issue of lore as well, because the Sleepy Boys family lore, does it take place or not? Is Wilbur the only Philza's son? It's really confusing, and it's quite clear, it's being made clear by Technoblade that the lore does not take place. But in my opinion, it needs to be made 100% clear, because it also relates to someone else on the server, just lores getting mixed up, and that person is Fundy. Fundy has a massive issue with lore connecting to his marriage to Dream, and this is based on one line. Fundy mentions on the day before the destruction of L'Manberg that he wishes to kill Dream as revenge for their wedding, where Dream runs off with George, leaving Fundy at the altar, which does not take place on this server, and Dream has stated that before that it is not canon. However, even without this issue, Fundy, instead of going against Dream, turns against L'Manberg and his friends at the last second of the war by refusing to help them in the war and just messes up with them. Which helps Dream, which he said before he didn't want to do. He said he wanted to kill Dream. Why is he suddenly helping Dream destroy L'Manberg? It's very confusing. And finally, that leads on to Nikki. This is a tricky one because Nikki wasn't meant to be part of this event. But when Nikki rightly pointed out she felt left out as an important character, she got put back into the lore for this stream. However, her character is completely out of place, which is super sad because Nikki is a fantastic actor, probably one of the best on the server. She goes from caring a lot about both Tommy and Tubbo and seemingly being a big sister for them. For example, teaming up with Tommy in the War for Henry, as well as that wonderful scene with Tubbo and Tommy after the festival. And now she's just betrayed them. It's so disappointing just to see that sudden change in character. She goes to not trusting Tommy and then burns down the Lamamberg tree, and it seemingly comes out of nowhere and doesn't make much sense. I mean, Nikki even sees Tommy at his lowest during exile. Why does she not trust him all of a sudden? It all means that the scene where she burns down the Lamamberg tree and utters "it was never meant to be," the famous line, holds less weight because it is so sudden. We haven't seen the evolution of her turn against Lamamberg. Again, I do not blame Nikki for this. It seems someone else's role was given to her, but maybe I'm wrong in assuming that. Overall, all these elements make it so that the whole event has less effect on the audience and means less to the server, its story, and the members of the Dream SMP. It seems rushed, to be honest, and it was entirely predictable. The predictability is clear because Tommy in it always loses. It's his brand, it's his bread and butter, but it's getting boring. Frostbite Freeman does an outstanding video on this topic that I implore you to watch. The predictability, coupled with the bad writing of the characters and the lack of emotion after the destruction, just meant it sort of felt lackluster, that left a bad taste in my mouth. The finale, it wasn't as good as it could be. And they have done brilliant work in the past. I've already mentioned in this video how much I enjoyed Tubbo's growth of a backbone, as well as Tommy in its exile, which I have a whole separate video talking about. And even in this finale, Ghostbur yelling at Philza was so emotional about Friend's death and the destruction of Lamamberg. It was so wonderful, it gave me chills. Both these scenes were so fantastic, so very emotional. So I know that these fantastic group of people can do so much, and we saw it in season 1, all the emotion, all the stakes that were there. It was just so much, it was so powerful. And I'm still hopeful for the Dream SMP. There's amazing stuff planned, such as Ghostbur vowing to be reborn and the jail being constructed by Awesome Dude still looming in the background. That will hopefully continue on the fantastic legacy of the Dream SMP. It's wonderful, so that's why I'm so passionate about this subject, about the finale. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. It was, well, controversial, but hopefully you liked it, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. One last time, I've got to say that I loved the Dream SMP. I loved the writing, I loved the acting. I was just a bit disappointed with the finale and wanted to talk about it because I'm so passionate about the Dream SMP. So yeah, that's this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and please subscribe. I would be so grateful. Thank you and peace.